around murdering hundreds of people, and suddenly they don't even get to know what happened. Could you imagine if that happened in America? If the foreign terrorists came and started shooting up one of our cities, and then one of their governments was shielding that person?
Well, that actually came out 2 weeks ago in the Associated Press. ACLU got the documents where the 9/11 Commission was ordered not to investigate the attacks by the White House. So, I mean, there's always a cover-up here, and it's always U.S., Israeli, and British intelligence every time running everything.
It is. It's just such a pattern that every time one of these things happens, you always have the government trying to hide things. And I mean, if there's nothing to hide, why are they acting so suspicious about it? It's just obvious that something strange is going on here.
Well, let's talk about this David Coleman Headley. And this is in the affidavit. This is in the news. U.S. intelligence agent.
Yeah, it started back in the late 90s. He got busted trafficking heroin. So the DEA convinced him that he should be a secret agent for them in Pakistan. So he went over there, and during the time that he was working for them, or close to it, he started training with a terrorist group in Pakistan called the Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is a well-known Pakistani intelligence-aided organization. I mean, it's no question. They helped found it. They helped operate it. And, you know, prominent Indians have been coming out and saying that. The top counterintelligence chief of the Indian Security Services has said it. The former Indian ambassador to Pakistan has said it. What's going on here is the government was in some capacity involved in this, and they had to have known about it at the very least, and there's probably more to it than that. And with this plea agreement that he just got, we're never going to get to know, unfortunately. So it's just a travesty what's going on here.
Well, what we know is he admits to running the key GPS operations, being in a leadership position, and then everybody else gets killed, and their bodies are full of PCP, LFD. I mean, we don't even know if this is supposedly the people. They could have had just some nuts separately who were hallucinating, and then black ops shoot some of the people, and that's what witnesses said they were seeing. The former head, well, at the time, the head of anti-terror forces, he gets killed in the attacks. He was coming out saying that Western intelligence had infiltrated and was going to stage this attack. He was there to try to stop it. He got killed. A replay of John O'Neill back on 9/11, the FBI head of counterterrorism, being killed. And so this just goes on and on and on. But the motives here are certain factions in Pakistan that want the U.S. to come in, stage an attack against India as a pretext for U.S. forces to be brought into Pakistan.
Yep. And you know, like you said, Headley was crucial to this operation. Like you said, he gathered GPS coordinates for the team to land there. He was conducting surveillance, and he was key to this entire operation. And so now it comes out that he's a government agent, and just everything's going to be classified. So something incredibly suspicious is going on, and the people really need to start asking the government what is going on here. I mean, and the Indians, too, are just outraged that this could happen.
Well, let's go over
really
more of this guy's past and what type of government agent he was, and now they're talking about basically you're giving him a lower sentence or something, and that they're protecting him under national security.
Yeah, well, in his plea agreement, I mean, for this crime, obviously, he could have gotten the death sentence. And with this plea agreement, he might not even serve a life sentence in prison. So, I mean, this is clearly some kind of cover-up, some kind of protection going on for this guy. And the U.S. is actually bound by treaty to hand him over to Indian authorities. So we're actually not fulfilling our obligations in order to cover up the trail of this guy. And so some people have been saying that, you know, maybe they just made a huge mistake and their agent went totally rogue and out of control, and now they're trying to cover that up. But the thing is, we're not ever going to know because it's all classified now. So, you know, it would seem like if it was just an innocent mistake, there wouldn't be the whole brouhaha trying to cover it up. It would seem that they would just admit they made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes from time to time, and, you know, just come clean. But that's not what we're seeing at all, unfortunately.
And it's the same in every single case. I wish the terrorism was just small lone groups. That's a lot less scary than knowing the people running our government are manufacturing these attacks to start wars and take our freedoms.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, continue going over some of the other important facets of your detailed article.
Okay. Well, we have here the ambassador who served in Pakistan. His name is M.K. Bhadrakumar, and he points out that the LET is closely affiliated with the Pakistan Inter-Services Intelligence, their equivalent to the CIA, and it's basically impossible that this operation would have gone on without the knowledge of the Pakistani government. And the connections between the CIA and the ISI, the Pakistan's version of the CIA, are well known. They've been working with each other for a long time, funding each other, helping out with cross-intelligence. And so if the Pakistani government knew that this was going on, it's almost inconceivable that the U.S. government wouldn't have known what was going on. And, well, obviously they didn't tell the Indians that this was happening. And on top of that, there's been a few CIA moles who have been caught within the Indian security services. And so that's leading people to, a lot of Indian journalists have been accusing certain Indian officials of being involved in this as well. So whether they're rogue Indian agents or whether they're collaborating with other governments, whether it be Pakistan or the American governments, we don't know. But there's clearly a lot going on here that isn't being talked about and that needs to be investigated.
Well, right after this happened, we were able to get Hamid Gul on the radio show, the former head of Pakistani intelligence, and he said that this was purely a U.S.-Israeli Indian operation as a pretext to start invasions and drone attacks, and that did then indeed happen. So that might be a good radio interview for you to pull up and listen to for further research. Yeah,
absolutely. I appreciate that, Alex. And a lot of Indian journalists have been saying that this was aided and abetted by the Indian intelligence services. Some have accused the Israeli intelligence services as well of involvement. And Pakistan's fingerprint is pretty much undeniable at this point. He was training with the LET. It's well known. It's admitted. And the LET is essentially a terrorist group that's run by the Pakistani government, with, of course, all of its links to the American government. So.
And then all these governments use these attacks as pretext to clamp down on their own populations.
Yeah, steal money, steal freedom. It's, the terrorists are going to get you if you don't give up your rights and give up your money. And then what do we get? More terrorism. I mean, it can't be incompetent. This guy who got on the airplane, the underwear bomber, obviously he had help from some well-dressed man. How does he get on an airplane with a passport, without a passport?
And then the State Department admits after a month and a half of denying it, okay, a U.S. intelligence agency, unnamed, told us to help him get on the plane and give him a visa.
Yep.
And it's the same story. And it says it now with these militias. They had informants in there running the whole thing.
Yep. Radicalizing people, getting them to say stupid things accidentally, things that they don't mean. And, yeah, then going in and arresting them and playing the sound bites on the afternoon media so that everybody knows that they need to give up their rights and their freedom. It's just pathetic.
Well, why did the John Birch Society write on this? I mean, I like the JBS, but I found it's, I don't want to say timid, but very, very careful. I mean, even when there was evidence of Oklahoma City being an inside job for a long time, then they did some seminal research on it. They didn't for a long time report on the inconsistencies of 9/11 because I guess they didn't want to have people discredit them. But it does seem that the JBS is really getting a lot more hardcore now. We had McManus in last year, and he said that there might have been some some operatives inside trying to suppress what you guys were doing, but that the JBS is going in the right direction now.
No, the JBS is a great organization, and, they always are really careful with what they publish. They always want to make sure the facts are 100% accurate before going forward with anything, and so I respect that. I received the tip on this from Dennis Bernhardt, who's the editor of the JBS website, and, when something can be verified, backed up, then, they go for it, and so I think the JBS is really a great organization in terms of helping to educate Americans, not just on the principles, but also, the news of what's going on. The New American Magazine, too, is part of the JBS, and I think they really do a great job of trying to get to the truth and publishing accurate information,
Oh, I do as well. It's just that I've seen them get more aggressive because I've seen times when the evidence is there and they still don't go there because they're being careful. But, but now I'm seeing them, really come into the 21st century, which is great because so much of us, so many of us out there woke up and are informed because of the work of the John Birch Society over the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm. And the media, they really love to jump on every little thing. So the New American Magazine and the John Birch Society, I think they're really cautious in what they say and make